Season 1, Episode 25, Conspiracy. This is yet another wacky Season 1 episode, but probably one of the better ones, which of course isn't saying a whole lot. It's basically Invasion of the Body Snatchers in Star Trek, which might be kind of cool, but unfortunately I think everything gets wrapped up in a nice little bow at the end, and it never really feels like a huge threat, at least in my opinion. But it is kind of creepy at times, and gory. I'm sure you know which scene I'm talking about. That alone kind of puts it in the horror category, which is why I decided to do a video on it for October. It's pretty tough to find scary Star Trek episodes, but I think this one is at least trying to be scary. And I think we should just get into it. The episode opens up with the Enterprise on its way to an ocean world called Pacifica, which sounds like it would be a cool setting for an episode. But unfortunately, we're not going to get to see it. And Geordi tells Data a joke, and Data tries to laugh at it. Very convincing, Mr. Data. That's basically how I picture my viewers reacting to my own attempts at humor. Anyway, Troy can't wait to get to Pacifica because she wants to go for a swim. Data says the holodeck can create that environment for her. She says it's just not the same. And Worf chimes in and says that swimming is too much like bathing. Okay. So I guess Season 1 Worf doesn't like to bathe. Noted. And they receive an emergency Starfleet signal. Picard takes it in private, and it's an old friend of his named Walker Keel. He's the captain of the starship Horatio. And he's very cryptic with Picard. He tells him not to trust anyone, and to meet him on a planet called Ditelix B. They head there, and the planet is deserted. Data calls it a lifeless lump of rock. And there are 3 other Federation starships already in orbit, along with 3 life signs on the planet's surface. Picard says he's beaming down alone. And he meets with the 3 individuals. All of them are Starfleet captains, and one of them, of course, is Walker Keel. The other is a Bolian played by Michael Berryman. He's actually the first Bolian in Star Trek. And this is not his first Star Trek appearance. He played an alien officer at Starfleet headquarters in Star Trek IV. And the third captain is someone named Tryla Scott, who apparently made captain faster than anyone else in Starfleet history, which is impressive because Kirk was officially promoted to captain at the age of 31. And he had already been in command of a number of ships prior to that. Although it's hard to find a canon source for that. But regardless, in his day, he was the youngest officer to reach the rank of captain. And this Captain Scott has obviously broken that record, which would be cool if we could maybe learn a little bit more about her, but we do not. And Captain Keel says the upper echelons of Starfleet Command have been compromised. There have been strange patterns and unusual orders, a series of supposedly accidental deaths. He says high-ranking officials have changed somehow. And he tells Picard to keep this quiet, but that's basically all he can tell him at this point. So, Picard beams back to the Enterprise, and the first person he tells is Troy. He says he needs solid evidence before he can involve the rest of the crew. And he asks Data to have a look at all the Starfleet command orders from the last 6 months. And Worf says they're picking up some kind of disturbance. They investigate and find a bunch of debris from Captain Keel's ship, the Horatio. It's been destroyed. Riker argues that it was probably an accident, which is fucking silly, but okay. And Data says there's been a lot of unusual Starfleet activity. Reshuffling of personnel in command areas, subtle and strange orders. He thinks it's a clandestine attempt to control vital sections of Federation territory. So Picard thinks they should go right to Starfleet headquarters. And in his log, he says that it's quite unusual for a starship to return to Earth. Unless, of course, this is Star Trek Picard, and it's not unusual for every starship to return to Earth for a glorified fireworks show. Sorry, I just can't get past how brainless that show is. And on their approach, a message comes in from 3 Starfleet admirals named Aaron, Savar, and Quinn. And Admiral Quinn appeared in a previous episode where he and Commander Remick came on board the Enterprise to perform a pretty intrusive inspection of the ship and crew. And Commander Remick is also among the admirals. He's always been an ass kisser. And they invite Picard and Riker down for dinner, but Quinn says he can't join them. But he would like to beam up to the Enterprise to say hi and see the ship. And Picard initially assumes this must mean that Quinn is still on their side. And spoiler alert, he's not. And of course, Troi once again says nothing of relevance. All she says is that someone is hiding something, but she can't tell who or what. I mean, what the fuck? That's what everyone can sense. That's not unique. That is basic human intuition. You don't have to be a Betazoid to sense that. Season 1 Troi and her Betazoid abilities are just useless.
I'm sensing a powerful mind.
Anyway, Quinn walks into a room and he has some kind of case with him. He opens it and reveals a bright pink bug inside of it. Not exactly what I would call a treasure. And he beams up to the Enterprise and he almost instantly reveals that he's not really Admiral Quinn. Picard mentions that the last time they spoke, Quinn had warned him about some kind of threat to Starfleet. And Quinn just basically says, I was just speaking metaphorically, Jean-Luc. Don't worry about it. So, Picard and Riker talk in private, and Picard tells him that that's not Admiral Quinn. He tells him that he's beaming down, and he wants Riker to keep an eye on him for the time being. I mean, it's really suspicious that Admiral Quinn is like, I can't join you for dinner, but I'd like to hang out on your ship while you go have dinner. So, anyway, Picard beams down and meets the two other admirals. They're both acting weird, and they say that they've prepared a special meal in his honor. Picard is not really here for a social gathering. They know he has questions, and you'd think that they would try to act less suspicious, and maybe at least try to lie to him in a more convincing way, but I guess not. And on the Enterprise, Quinn has been assigned quarters, which is weird, considering he's supposedly just stopping by. And Riker goes to see him. And he tells him that there's a life form in his case. And it was discovered by a survey team accidentally on an uncharted planet. And then he grabs Riker, and there's a struggle. He's super strong. He throws Riker around. And then Riker does this. Wow, that was impressive. Riker threw his legs at this guy's face like he was trying to scale a chair. And Riker's stunt double got knocked out, of course. It cuts away weirdly to Starfleet headquarters. They toast to the Horatio, and Picard wants to know if they've determined what happened to it. Admiral Savar says it was an implosion due to the extreme negligence of her captain. Really? What a shitty lie. First of all, Picard was good friends with this captain. I'm sure he knows that he's not a lazy guy. And second of all, how would that cause an implosion exactly? Like if the captain isn't doing his job, the ship will just destroy itself? A much better lie would have been, no, we don't know what happened yet. We're still investigating. That's all he had to say. And quick jump back to the Enterprise. Worf and Geordi show up in Quinn's quarters. No idea why Geordi is there. He's not a security officer. I guess he just wanted to tag along. And Quinn says that Riker slipped and hit his head. Good excuse. And then this happens.
Now, if you'll excuse me, my time here is most limited.
Admiral, don't you think we should wait till the doctor gets here?
What the fuck? Why did that question from Geordi make him think the game was up? Hey, don't you think we should wait till the doctor gets here? Oh, well, I guess I'm caught. Might as well fuck this dickhead up. It's just so hilarious. And then Worf tries to fight him, of course, and he gets his ass kicked because it's season 1. Not even the patented Captain Kirk double fist punch can stop Quinn. But thankfully, Crusher shows up and shoots Quinn with a phaser. No idea why she's walking around with a phaser. But I guess it's lucky she had it. She takes Quinn to sickbay and examines him. She says he really is Admiral Quinn, but she finds a weird thing sticking out of the back of his neck. And when Picard gets a moment alone, he contacts the Enterprise, and Crusher tells him that a parasitic being has control over Quinn's body, and it breathes through a small gill at the back of his neck. She also tells him to set his phaser on kill because stun has little effect. And Picard says one does not beam down to Starfleet headquarters armed. He doesn't have a phaser. Maybe he should consider changing that little policy in the future. And then there's the most pointless jump scare ever. Riker sneaks up behind Crusher and startles her, and then it cuts away immediately. And this is done to make you think that Quinn might have stuck that other parasite in Riker's brain. So, I guess this is not pointless, but spoiler alert, Riker is just fine. So he's acting weird to scare people, I guess. And then it's finally the dinner scene. They're all eating a bowl of maggots. I don't know. Seems a little suspicious to me. And then Riker shows up, pretending to be taken over by one of the parasites. He has a little worm thing sticking out of his neck. Obviously a fabrication put there by Dr. Crusher. And Captain Tryla Scott also shows up. Seems like she must have been the one that betrayed and killed Captain Keel. And Admiral Savar says that they orchestrated this. They wanted Picard to come to Starfleet headquarters asking questions. He says it's more dramatic that way. So it's really lucky that these parasites are not only incompetent, but also have a very impractical flair for the dramatic. And Riker acts like he's going to eat the bugs, or the maggots, I guess, but he doesn't. He shoots this guy, and then Captain Scott, and then Admiral Savar seems to try to give Riker the Vulcan neck pinch, but it doesn't work, which is really funny because apparently these parasites don't have access to their host's memories, so that makes me think that he tried to do what a Vulcan would do, but couldn't, because unlike his host, he never learned how. So they just shoot him and he's knocked out. Then they chase after the last admiral, Admiral Aaron, and they shoot him too. His parasite crawls out of his mouth and goes through the door. They follow it and find Commander Remick sitting in a Charles Xavier chair, and the Admiral's bug crawls into his mouth. Yikes. Now it looks like he has a goiter on his neck. And Remick says they mean no harm. They seek peaceful coexistence. Once again, saying something that is not in any way convincing to anyone. And Riker and Picard shoot him. And it's gruesome. I'm actually a little surprised they were able to get away with this on TV in the 80s. It's pretty insane.
We seek peaceful coexistence.
And then the true alien is revealed. It's sitting inside Remick's torso. And it's fucking horrendous. So naturally, they shoot this piece of shit too. And it dies. And somehow this quickly leads to a happy ending. With the head parasite dead, all the other smaller ones died. Convenient. And Admiral Quinn is expected to make a full recovery. Commander Remick, however, is not. It's really funny because when he first appeared in a previous episode, he's a total dickhead to the crew. And at the very end, he says nice things, and he says that he would love to serve on the Enterprise someday. Well, that's not going to fucking happen. And we can all be thankful for that, at least. And apparently, Remick was sending a message to an unexplored section of the galaxy, some kind of homing beacon. So, it seems that Starfleet might have to deal with these creatures again someday, even though they were never seen again. And I don't want to hear about how they were on lower decks or they were referenced on lower decks. That doesn't count as far as I'm concerned. As far as I can tell, it just showed that is nothing but references. So it's not following up on anything. It's just reaching back into the well for more references to try to entertain you. That show is basically a parody of Star Trek, and it's a bad one, in my opinion. From what I gather, the conspiracy parasites are referenced or appear in that show, and they talk about how they take over people by going through their butt. And I mean no offense to anyone who's into that show. If you like it, fine. Just don't recommend it to me. I know if I watched it, it would hurt me. And why do you want to hurt me? Don't hurt me, please. Anyway, this video is not about Lower Decks, so I should probably get back to talking about conspiracy. Overall, I think the episode is fine. It's creepy at times, but it's not great and it's not terrible. It's just kind of average. I cut it some slack, though, because it's a season 1 episode that actually feels like some things are actually happening for once. So there's that, I suppose. And I'm a little surprised because I've seen a couple of those cornball lists which rank this episode as one of the top 25 or 30 episodes of the whole series, which is really weird to me. I guess it's just a little too much like Invasion of the Body Snatchers for me to care about it. It's also like the Goa'uld in Stargate. They built that whole show around parasitic aliens, and it's pretty awesome. But for a one-off episode that gets wrapped up a little too neatly at the end, I can't say it's all that great. I mean, this would definitely fuck up Starfleet for a long, long time. But it didn't. Anyway, I should probably shut my yap. That's about all I got for now. Let me know what you think of this episode. And until next time, take it easy.
Don't you think we should wait till the doctor gets here?